We're going to get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Mellon. I'm the Director of Public Affairs at the California Department of Water Resources. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're here this morning to give you an overview of DWR's first use of the Oroville Main spillway since it was reconstructed over the past 2 years. Later this morning, DWR will open the radial gates at the top of the spillway, releasing flows for the first time since May 19th, 2017, when we began reconstruction. I'd like to provide a quick overview about the reconstruction work that has taken place over the last 2 years. Over the course of 2 construction seasons in 2017 and 2018, DWR rebuilt the main spillway to full functionality. The main spillway has been ready to release flows to manage lake levels since November 1st, 2018, after completion of all concrete placement. Minor finishing work on the site is ongoing but has no impact to functionality. I'm going to introduce Molly White with DWR to talk about water operations.
Thank you, Erin. Good morning, everyone. My name is Molly White. I'm Chief of Water Operations for the State Water Project, and I'll be giving you all an overview of our operations.
Would you mind just going to
Thank you. As part of our normal operations, DWR is using the main spillway today to manage reservoir levels in anticipations of storm and melting snowpack. 2019's wet weather has boosted reservoir levels around the state, including here at Oroville. Operations are coordinated with the United States Army Corps of Engineers Flood Manual. Currently, Oroville Reservoir is at 854 feet. DWR anticipates additional rainfall in the coming days. At 11 a.m. today, DWR will begin making releases from the Oroville Main Spillway. By early afternoon, DWR expects to be releasing about 8,300 cubic feet per second. 8,300 cubic feet per second. Spillway releases, combined with the releases from Oroville facilities and natural inflows, will be approximately 20,000 cubic feet per second in total releases to the Feather River. DWR will adjust releases to the Feather River and from the main spillway as forecasts change. We may increase flows to the Feather River up to 40,000 to 60,000 cubic feet per second later this week to manage increased inflows from the storms. If we make that adjustment, spillway releases will be a portion of those total flows. DWR also anticipates the potential for continued releases to manage snowmelt and lake elevations through the spring. DWR will continue to update our partners, the public, and the media as operations are adjusted. Now I'll hand it over to DWR's State Water Project Deputy Director, Joel Ledesma, for a few additional words.
Thank you, Molly. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm Joel Ledesma, Joel-Ledesma. Good morning. I'm Joel Ledesma, DWR Deputy Director for the State Water Project. Thank you for joining us this morning. As Erin and Molly have shared, the decision to use the main spillway was the result of following the normal operations plan to help provide flood protection to downstream communities. Public safety has driven all our decisions as we have rebuilt the Oroville Spillway, including reconstructing the main spillway in just 2 years. We have embraced collaboration with our state and federal regulators and independent experts to ensure the best design and reconstruction. We rebuilt the Oroville spillways using the best available technology and with modern designs, but we're not stopping there. We're looking at all our DWR-owned dams and flood control facilities and are continuing to invest and modernizing our infrastructure. We want to thank our state and federal partners for their assistance, and I would like to acknowledge our construction partner, Kiewit, Jeff Peterson, who served as the Executive Director, Project Director, and is here today with us. Thank you, Jeff. Most importantly, we want to thank the City of Oroville, Butte County, and all the surrounding and downstream communities for their continued patience. We are committed to continuing communication and partnership with the local communities. And now I'll pass it back to Aaron.
Thanks, Joel. So we're going to take a couple of questions right now. I'm going to repeat your question for the, we're Facebook Living this for the viewers online. And then I want to make sure that we have enough time. Like Molly said, we're going to start spilling at 11. So I want to make sure you guys have enough time to get down to Oro Dam Boulevard East to review. And actually, before we take questions, I'm going to give you a couple of other updates. Like I said, Oro Dam Boulevard East is open both to media and the public. We recommend people do drive slowly, especially since it's raining. Assuming spillway releases do not exceed 30,000 cubic feet per second, that road will remain open to the public. If releases from the main spillway exceed 30,000 cubic feet per second, we will restrict access to only credentialed media. Live stream cameras provided by state parks are being streamed right now on Parks website, and they will be showing today's spill. We'll also be updating DWR's YouTube and Pixel pages with video and photos regularly today. Like I said, we'll take a couple of questions now. We'll also be available after the fact. We'll start. Sorry, we're actually going to start over here.
What is the target for the reservoir? Why the releases now? Where do you hope to keep it in anticipation of the flows that are coming in? Kind of give us a glimpse into the operations manual.
So the question was, what target lake levels does DWR have going into the spring and summer? And I'm going to pass it to Molly White with operations.
This is part of our normal operations to manage the reservoir, and right now we are releasing water to make room for that snowpack and inflows for rainfall on the horizon. And we receive forecasts daily from the National Weather Service and flood management to mitigate and moderate our elevation increases as we go through the spring and summer.
Can you tell us what the numbers are? Or?
At this point, it's difficult to say exactly what the numbers are without knowing where we are with the forecasts and so forth.
Dale?
So what's your level of confidence this morning that this big project is going to go off and everything's going to be fine?
So the question is, what is DWR's confidence level with the use of the spillway? And I'm going to hand it over to Joel Ledesma.
Great question. We're prepared. We spent the last 2 years restoring full functionality of the spillway. We've had, industry experts designing and helping us construct. We've had our regulators as oversight, the federal government and the state. So we expect it to run, as designed, and we're prepared.
You mentioned
Thanks, Joel. I'm going to go over here. Sorry, KRCR?
Yes, what is the one area of concern that engineers will be keeping a close eye on as the water is released? Is there a specific area that you need to keep an eye on to be sure things are running properly?
So the question is there a specific area of the spillway that DWR monitoring will be looking at? And I'll pass it back to Joel to answer that question.
Like I said before, we're prepared, and we'll be monitoring the spillway, just, making sure it meets design performance, but we expect it to work, and we're ready.
Right here.
2.5 years ago, it could have been said that you're prepared and you're ready. You're looking at a much larger rain pattern this year, which continues into April. You're also looking at a snowpack that's much bigger than the one you contended with 2 years ago. A little hard to take completely seriously that you're really prepared, because I think you don't know yet. Do you really?
Well, I'll take a portion of that and I'll pass it on to Molly if she has more to say about the snowpack. Right now, the lake is about 50 feet below the emergency spillway weir, which provides about 750,000 acre feet of storage. So right now, we certainly do calculate snowpack, and we are aware of the snowpack that is going to melt off and run into the reservoir. We're actually up in Tahoe today doing our April snow survey, and that's the information that is informing these decisions, and that is part of why we are making the releases today. Do you have anything to add?
I can add one more. And just one more item is that we do anticipate having increased in releases to the Feather River throughout spring as we manage the snowmelt and any inclement weather that comes through.
All due respects, you guys were confident 2 years ago, and I don't want to harp on this, but you're looking at a much larger pattern of water and of snow. And, you know, you just have to wonder if you really have this thing right, because the experts were right before until it wasn't right.
I'm not sure that there was a question in there.
Well, the question is, are you really sure that this will do the job? Because, let's face it, the DWR's reputation, somewhat sullied already, is probably gonna be dashed away if this doesn't work.
Well, like Joel and Molly have said, we are prepared to use the spillway. We are using it based on inflows from rain and storms as well as snowpack. We are proceeding as with normal operations, and the spillway has been reconstructed to modern design. So we are ready for this storm and future weather that Mother Nature may have in store for us. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna stop you there. I'm sorry. We're actually doing this in an organized manner. I'm gonna pass it to you, Bob.
What's the sweet spot, to follow up on Brian's question, what's the sweet spot for the lake levels that we want to see the lake at as we're looking to try to adjust for the snowpack and the water that's coming in? And then for you, what are the other projects that we're working on? Are there other spillway construction projects underway in the state?
So the operations plan the question was, what is the sweet spot for lake levels going into the spring? And also, what other projects are underway across the state as far as modernization goes? So I'll start and I'll kick it over to Joel and Molly to add. The operations plan gives target lake levels throughout the spring and summer. The lake could keep rising, but like Molly said, we are likely to continue releases through either the spillway or other facilities into the summer if we see additional rain or inflows from snowpack melting. And as far as the other facilities, I'll have Joel answer that.
A great question. So managing the State Water Project and our aging infrastructure is very important to the State Water Project. And so we're continuously looking at where we need to modernize. And as far as the dams, we've been doing inspections, deeper dive inspections at all our facilities. And we're going to be we're prioritizing their work, and we have a plan. But I think today we really want to talk about this spillway at Oroville.
Can I ask my question about that?
Yeah, sure.
If you had to pick 3 or 5 things that make this spillway different from the previous spillway, that give you that confidence that this is going to work, what are those modern construction designs that have been implemented now, whether it be material, design?
I'll give you a couple of stats and then I'll pass it back to Joel. So the question was, what are some of the construction methods or infrastructure that makes this spillway different or better from the one that was built 50 years ago? So obviously using 21st century engineering designs and practices, we've learned a lot in the industry and in construction over the past 50 or 60 years. This spillway has an average thickness of 7.5 feet of concrete. It has 7,000 anchors. It has 12.5 million pounds of reinforcing steel. They are epoxy coated. Those are some of the details that are new to this spillway. As far as additional questions as to the design of the spillway, after this press conference, Jeff Peterson with Kiewit, who was the lead our infrastructure partner in construction, will be able to take additional questions, and I'll kick it back to Joel to close that.
Yeah, I think some of the details, Jeff Peterson could talk about, but I think, the important point is that we're using the latest modern technology. And so if you tried to compare from the previous spillway to now, this one is modern because the industry has learned a lot since that one was built 50 years ago. So today has all the latest technology, which includes all the features that Aaron talked about. So I don't think there's any one feature. We've learned the industry and the technologies have increased, and they've all been deployed on this spillway.
Is there additional monitoring that's in place now to watch what's going on up there, either in terms of cameras or electronics in the slab itself to watch for how water is moving under the slab?
So the question is, are there additional monitoring techniques or equipment to monitor use of the spillway? DWR has a robust monitoring program in place. We have 24-hour surveillance and monitoring of the spillway, as well as I believe it's 34 piezometers in the spillway design, measuring pressure, and then and 70 what are called prisms, which measure movement. I should kick it to the engineer. I'll hand it over to Joel Ledesma.
Yeah, I think part of reconstructing the spillway also meant modernizing our monitoring. And so, as Aaron stated, there's roughly 36 piezometers built into the spillway to measure pressure under the spillway. There's about 70 piezometers prisms to monitor movement in the walls of the emergency spillway. And then additional cameras that we've installed that are permanent, so also visible view of the spillway.
Aaron?
Yeah, Ryan.
Real quick question. Did I hear right, downstream flows are gonna be about 60,000 CFS in the coming weeks?
So the question is, at what flows are we expecting the Feather River to be later in the week?
Or in the coming weeks?
We're anticipating that flows to the Feather River could increase to up to 40 to 60,000 CFS, potentially depending on what forecasts show us.
And what's the downstream rating for the levees? It's 150, right?
And the follow-up question was, what's the downstream levee rating? And yes, it is about 150 CFS.
Net 40 to 60 is all outlets?
I'm sorry, one more time?
40 to 60 is all outlets?
That's correct. The 40 to 60 is all outflows from Oroville facilities as well as natural inflows from precipitation.
So definitely the spillway is top state of the art. What about the fact that the rest of the complex still has not been brought up to other areas? That was one area that was fixed.
So the question is, what is the status of other updates to the Oroville facilities? And I'll pass it over to Joel Ledesma.
You know, another action that we've taken here at Oroville, and is part of our modernizing and investing in our infrastructure, is we've been working on a comprehensive needs assessment of the facility it's in progress now. We expect to have that completed mid next year, and that's really going to dictate, you know, what more modernization or areas we need to ensure, safety of the facility and its functionality.
Risa?
What's left to do on the emergency spillway at this point?
We are working, sorry, the question was, what is left to do on the emergency spillway at this point? So we've bolstered the emergency spillway significantly to reinforce it. The remaining work is adding a concrete cap to the buttress that was reconstructed over the course of the last 2 years.
Sorry, when will
Follow up.
that be, I'm assuming that'll be halted for now, so when will that be resumed?
I'm not sure that we have that answer for you right this time, but I'm sure Jeff Peterson will be able to give us a timeline for when that work will be complete this year. In the back, Rachel.
So you said you're ready, and that's great. What if there is a failure? What other mechanisms are in place or emergency personnel in place in case there is some sort of a disaster? And then moving forward, have you reviewed any lessons learned from the last time in terms of evacuation response?
The question is, what emergency measures are in place if something were to go wrong? I'll pass it to Joel Ledesma, but I'll just add that Lieutenant Bell here with the Sheriff's Office is here. We also have our partners with the California Highway Patrol. DWR is not responsible for evacuation, so I think questions as to changes to the evacuation methods would best be directed at those folks. But as far as additional work that we've done to anticipate, or what would we do differently to release flows if something were to happen, I'll hand it over to Joel Ledesma.
Thank you, and great question. I mean, so the facility runs 24/7, so our staff is prepared to handle, you know, emergencies and other items like that. So, but on staff, we have the design team that was that designed the spillway for any questions. We're monitoring, and we're in communication with all our local partners, which includes the sheriff, the downstream communities. In the event that something would happen, which we don't expect, then we would be following our emergency action plan and taking all the necessary actions to protect the downstream communities and the dam.
And I would add that that emergency action plan has been updated since February of 2017 to accommodate for the things that we've learned. I'm gonna keep moving. Yep.
Molly, maybe this is more for you. This is a normal thing to operate the spillway, right? I mean, is it pretty much seasonal that the spillway would operate? Because it's kind of become, I guess it kind of got this emergency light put on it in the last couple of years, but it's a typical operation to open the spillway, is it not?
So the question is this a typical operation to open the spillway?
Correct. This is normal operations especially during wet years. We do use the spillway essentially almost 50% of the time.
Juan there?
Aaron, is there any update on FEMA reimbursements? The latest one that was rejected, is that not the last one, or will there be more FEMA reimbursements to come?
Thanks, Juan. The question was, what's the latest on FEMA reimbursement? Is what we reported out recently the latest, and are we expecting additional reimbursement? To date, FEMA has approved $205 million in federal funds to reimburse the state for spillway reconstruction costs. Those funds, that 205, is in addition to the $128.4 million that FEMA previously approved for reimbursement for emergency response, debris removal, and other costs. We are going to be appealing that initial determination from FEMA and making the case that we believe all emergency response and recovery costs, including reconstruction, should be reimbursable.
So there'll be enough, while you're debating that 300, is there going to be additional tranches considered above and beyond that, or is this the total amount, the 3 and the 2 and the 1 or so?
So the question is, are we expecting an additional amount? I think that'll be determined through the appeals process over the course of the next couple months.
Okay, and then Joel, the Feather River downstream of here can you give us an update on what they're doing to remediate some of the Feather River just downstream of here? It's been hammered pretty hard through this whole operation.
The question is, what are we doing to manage what is being done down the Feather River to mitigate some of the damage from recent high flows? I think I'm going to say that actually none of the folks up here are going to be the right folks for you to talk to. Downstream maintenance are responsible. It's the responsible work of the local maintaining agencies and communities, and DWR's kind of not as involved in that work.
What's the total cost right now for the
So Bob's question is, what's the total cost of the reconstruction? Total cost is $1.1 billion for both emergency response and recovery. That number has not been updated since the last time we talked about it, which I believe was in October of 2018. Obviously, work is still underway. That dollar figure does include site rehabilitation for after the construction. But if the number changes, if our estimates change, we will certainly keep you updated. Dale?
What's the likelihood that you would have to use the emergency spillway this spring?
So,
And would it be ready?
so the question is, what's the likelihood that we would have to use the emergency spillway this spring, and would it be ready? And I'll hand it to Joel Ledesma.
So as we've been talking really about, this is normal operation. You know, the normal operation is to keep using the main spillway to manage reservoirs. Therefore, we don't intend to use the emergency spillway. If there was some extreme weather, then that's what we would be looking at as we're managing the reservoir elevations. And at that point, you know, but the emergency spillway has been reconstructed and is capable of full functionality.
And what's
Sorry.
full functionality? What's full functionality of this?
I'll answer this question really quickly. What's full functionality of the emergency spillway? It's been reconstructed to handle flows of 100,000 cubic feet per second, but Joel spoke to the comprehensive needs assessment that DWR has underway, and that will be looking at the entire facility and reassessing what total flows we need for long term. Now I'm going to pass it to Risa because I think I've skipped her.
Can you talk about how the rebuild has taken the forensic report into account?
Yeah, the question is, how has the rebuild taken the independent forensic team's report into account? Do you want me to? So we certainly have looked at the independent forensic team's report, as well as many other studies as to what caused the failure of the main spillway in 2017. We've made those adjustments and improvements based on those reports. Much of that was addressed in using 21st century design and reconstruction. So we're confident that this spillway has been redesigned using today's best modern technologies and engineering to accommodate for what led to February 2017.
Can you just follow back up a little bit on your description of the emergency spillway and what work has been done and what was not? There was a lot of technical stuff in there that would you mind maybe restating it so we understand what the concrete cap is and its importance, and is there concrete there for water to fall on?
Sure. So the question is, what work exactly has been done on the emergency spillway, and can we explain it a little bit more? I will, and then if you have additional questions, I think Jeff Peterson in the back is going to be your best point of contact. So DWR built a splash pad on the hillside of the emergency spillway. It's in a stair-step pattern, which helps dissipate energy as the water moves down it. That splash pad meets a underground cutoff wall that is about 730 feet downhill from the emergency spillway weir. That underground cutoff wall is installed into bedrock at depths of 35 to 65 feet deep. So that will help lead the water down the hillside, dissipate the energy, and then if there is any cutting of the hillside up, it'll stop at that underground cutoff wall. In addition to that, we've bolstered the emergency spillway weir with construction of a buttress, and the cap on that buttress is like a hat is the best way to describe it, which helps again dissipate the power and energy of the water so that as it flows over, it hits that cap, then moves down the buttress, then moves down the stair step down into the Feather River. So not seeing.
One last one. What's the main, so you have the main spillway, what's that rated for CFS-wise?
The question is, what is the CFS of the main spillway? I'll pass it to Joel Ledesma.
So the design rating for that is 269,000 CFS, but the operations plan to operate it is at 150,000 to accommodate for the levees downstream.
So, and to basically, what you're saying with the emergency spillway is the only way that it could be used, barring some sort of thing that happened like in 2017, we'd have to exceed 250,000 CFS down the main spillway, and then another 100,000 could potentially go over that. It's like a Godzilla storm we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we refer to it as a Noah's Ark storm, but you know, if we were at those flows, then we would be dealing with extreme weather. And, you know, the operations plan also accounts for extreme weather events like that.
Yep.
Sorry. Just back to the numbers, just so we can understand. I know in the operations manual, I'm just basing on what I know from Folsom Lake, there's a top of conservancy. We have to keep the lake at, I think it's about 50 or 60% through the flood season. Is there a TOC for Oroville? Are we encroaching in that TOC at this point? You know, again, back to that sweet spot. Where is the
So
what does the manual say?
The question is, what is the top of TOC, top of? Well, clearly Molly is the one who should be answering this, and she knows what it stands for, so I'll pass it over to Molly.
Yes, there is a top of conservation. We're operating in accordance with the Army Corps' flood control manual. And as of April 1st, that we're on the rising limb of the flood control diagram.
What is it?
It varies every day. Every day, that top of conservation gets less and less, and it's dependent upon the basin wetness.
Are we encroached in that now? Is that why you're opening the spillway?
We're slightly encroached, and we are opening the spillway to manage the encroachment as well as the forecasted rainfall and snowmelt.
Let this go. Are you hoping to have the
The follow-up question was, are we planning to let the outflow from Oroville facilities match the inflow into the facilities? I'll pass it back to Molly.
Today, we're managing to inflow, and that'll be subject to change based upon the forecasts that we receive on a daily basis. And what's important as we're going through the spring refill is not to fill too quickly. And so we'll be, as I stated earlier, we'll be having increased releases to the Feather River just to moderate and manage the storage gain in the lake.
Do we expect the lake to go up?
Follow-up question, do we expect the lake to go up? I'll give it back to Molly.
Yes, at this point, we will be seeing still slightly increases in lake elevation, lake levels.
Not seeing any other burning questions. It is 9:35. We are planning to open the spillway gates just before 11 a.m., so we will see you all out on Oro Dam Boulevard East. Thanks for joining us.